Hi, I'm Shania Armstrong, and welcome to another episode of Focus, brought to you by the Department of Disaster Management. October 13th is the International Day for Disaster Reduction. It is a day to celebrate how people and communities are reducing their risk to disasters and raising awareness about the importance of disaster risk reduction. The theme for 2012 is Women and Girls, the Invisible Force of Resilience. Women and girls are powerful agents of change. They have unique knowledge and skills, crucial when addressing or managing disaster risk. They must participate in poverty reduction, climate change adaptation, and disaster risk reduction that will shape the future of those, their families, and their communities. On this episode of Focus, we are featuring women who are building disaster-resilient communities right here in the Virgin Islands. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we will hear exactly what they're doing in their home, society, and their communities to enhance disaster risk reduction. Welcome back to Focus. If you're just joining us, we're speaking about disaster risk reduction.
My name is Dawn Leonard. I'm the Health Disaster Coordinator with the Ministry of Health and Social Development. My role as Health Disaster Coordinator is to ensure that the health sector is prepared in the event of a disaster. Why is this important? It is important because our health infrastructure is a critical part of how we will recover as a country in the event of any disaster. Usually health is one of the areas that is most impacted during a disaster. We only need to look to Haiti to recognize that they suffer tremendously as a result of not having their health infrastructure in place after they had their earthquake. So it is important for me as a health disaster coordinator to ensure that our plans are well written and tested regularly, so that in the event of a disaster of any sort, that we will be prepared. Usually the types of disasters that can affect health And granted, all disasters can impact health, but if we're looking at it strictly from a health disaster standpoint, we would look at things such as cholera, H1N1 or influenza pandemic. Dengue can also become a disaster for us in our region, because what is a disaster? A disaster is anything that can overwhelm our infrastructure. And so having plans in place is very important to ensure that our health sector is ready for the eventuality of any disaster. Part of what is important for us to do in health disaster management also is to ensure that we reduce the loss of lives, because that's what we do in health. That's one of the critical roles we play in health, is to ensure that the loss of life is minimized or reduced. And so training of healthcare practitioners is also important, because we have limited human resources within the BVI. We have to make sure that they're well trained. And so we provide training in mass casualty management, emergency management care, just to name a few. I'm very passionate about the work that I do as a health disaster coordinator, because I think as a small territory, the potential for us to be impacted is very great. And so it is important that we focus on reducing our risk in the territory, especially in the area of health disaster management.
Why are women and girls important in creating disaster-resilient societies? Although women's social, economic, and cultural position in many societies make them more vulnerable to natural hazards, they can, however, be considered as important agents of change and development. Evidence throughout history has shown that women play an important role in life management, economy of the family, and helping in making societies more resilient.
My name is Marva Titley Smith, and I'm the Chief Planner here in the BVI. My role in disaster risk reduction is on the mitigation end, trying to make sure that persons are prepared in advance of a disaster and that the disasters are avoided early on. Now, when this refers to women, as in many other Caribbean countries, women have access to land. And it's important that they have all the relevant information in order to make decisions concerning their land tenure. Now, in the Town and Country Planning Department, we're able to have a database in place through assistance from the Disaster Management Office, where we were able to put together our planning database and provide access to the development agents. Now, this allows women to have access to the information in terms of the hazards that their land is exposed to. With the information that's available in the database, women have access to information that will reduce their risk to disasters. If they know, for example, that a parcel of land that they wish to develop has a particular hazard that it's exposed to, then they're able to make decisions that will reduce the risk of that particular land. Now, this helps in terms of improving the quality of their lives so that they're not developing in areas that are prone to hazards, prone to hurricanes, storm surge, or anything that may affect the livelihood of their or their families. The creation of a planning database, we've been able to incorporate disaster information in order to help persons make decisions about their development applications.
Hi, my name is Charlotte McDevitt. I'm the Executive-Director of Green VI. We're a non-profit, and we focus on the themes of water, energy and waste. Essentially, if we manage our water, our waste and our energy properly, that mitigates disaster management impacts, and that's what we're trying to achieve as a not-for-profit. One of the projects that we'd like to implement is building a pilot road using glass aggregate that we'd like to get a crusher here that can crush glass waste and then use that as a base for roads and build good roads with proper drainage so that when we do flood, the roads don't wash away with the resulting impact on the coral reefs.
My name is Nancy Pascoe. I'm the planning coordinator at the National Parks Trust of the Virgin Islands, and I'm one of the few women who use GIS in the British Virgin Islands for planning and management. At the national parks, we manage protected areas, national parks, marine and terrestrial, as well as biodiversity and historical sites. We use GIS to first create an understanding of what we have, so the biodiversity that we have in our parks and protected areas, and we map these so that in the event of a disaster we know what might have been lost by monitoring after an event. And this also applies to the historical sites and the buildings that we have in our national parks. We can then understand what damages might have occurred as a result of hurricanes or earthquakes or tsunamis. In terms of managing the people who visit our parks, we use GIS for modeling tsunami escape routes. So, for instance, some of our national parks are low-lying, so we want to model how people would leave a national park and go to a higher elevation in the event of a tsunami. So we can look at the road networks and shelters of where these people might leave and escape to safety. In the event of marine disasters as well, we do marine monitoring and understand how corals and our shipwrecks might have been damaged in the event of hurricanes or other large storm events.
My name is Elvia Smith-Maduru. I am the Assistant Secretary in the Premier's office. I also I'm assistant to the Deputy Financial Secretary in his role as the Deputy Regional Authorizing Officer for European development projects under European development funds. My role in disaster management is basically the focal point for the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction Project, which is a project funded by the European Union, I think to the tune of $6 million, that seek to address the risk and exposure of small island states, being the British and the Dutch overseas territories, by providing network infrastructure programs, policies, and protocols to strengthen their capacity to predict and to prepare them for natural and human-induced hazards, and thus improving their resilience and reduce risk to subsequent losses due to these hazards or natural disasters.
This year's observance of the International Day for Disaster Reduction seeks to highlight the need for women and girls to be at the forefront of reducing risk and managing the world's response to natural hazards. Across the world, women and girls are using their roles within families and communities to strengthen risk reduction. In Bangladesh, women organize themselves to prepare for and respond to floods by teaching other women how to build portable clay ovens and elevate houses. In South Africa, marginalized adolescent girls have been empowered to help design plans to reduce the impact of drought and severe windstorms. In the Bolivian Altiplano, indigenous women have consolidated traditional agricultural and climatic knowledge, which resulted in significant reduction of crop losses from hail, frost, and flooding. In Vietnam, villagers have been introduced to disaster reduction issues through customized radio soap operas that incorporate self-examples and stories from local women. And following the tsunami and earthquake in Fukushima, Japan, women played a central role in re-establishing income opportunities with a special focus on single mothers. Such efforts advance understanding of how communities can benefit from encouraging women to take leadership roles in disaster risk reduction, and will only become more valuable as climate change intensifies and as the world struggles to cope with extreme weather and disaster that affect an average of over 200 million people annually. On this International Day of Disaster Reduction, let us recognize that, as the theme of this year's observance declares, women and girls are the invisible force of resilience.
We're trying to get over it because we know that life goes on. That's why I tell people, I said, I'm not dead, so I must keep moving. But you have to be real in what's really going on. And what's really going on is we're not healed yet. I was raised up in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was a cosmetologist for 21 years. I did hair. This is what we call Bayview Avenue, and this is Casino Row. I'll show you what my house used to be. It was right across the street from the casinos. This is where my house was before Katrina. This is where I lived and enjoyed and had family dinners every Sunday, gatherings with my friends, surprise birthday parties for my brothers and sisters. This was the house. My dad, my mom, my siblings, all of our antique furniture from 1934 that we had in here. I mean, everything was in this house. My daughter's bed was like in the neighbor's yard 2 doors over, and the car was over there. So I try to walk in this house, and I'm literally in the mud because I'm just trying to just retrieve whatever I can get. It took like 16 hours to wash the pictures, and we had silhouettes of pictures. So we just said we'll keep them, because at least we knew we did exist, you know? After my 3 months of working with Corps of Engineers, these young ladies came to me and said, Sharon, we want you to come to this meeting. And this young lady named Sophia Daniels, she was like, we just want to meet women, because we know y'all do everything anyway. I said, you got it, sister.
Started with black women on that Wednesday, 25 years.
After maybe about 4 meetings, the young lady was always asking, we need leaders. So I'm like, well, I'll be the secretary. I'll take notes, I'll go to meetings, I'll make sure that our community is valid, that our voices will be heard. And from that on, I was like the unofficial ED, but I didn't know it.
I mean, a lot of people want to ride.
I know.
But, you know, but who would be willing to lead?
CWC is Coastal Women for Change. Our first thing we did was have a meeting with the mayor, and we were given voter rights. And we had all these women on these committees. So that way we'll know firsthand what's going on.
In terms of planning for the budget over the summer.
What I do on a daily basis is outreach. We go to young people and ask them what they need. So they're like, could we just get a library? And childcare, women were like, strangers are keeping my children. The women are already sort of oppressed, and so they had to find childcare, find transportation, and work, find housing. A lot of them was under a lot of domestic violence, so it wasn't, they couldn't easily get a job. CWC, they were like, my husband, he died during the storm, and I have to be the total breadwinner. And so women will put double burdens on themselves. I'm sorry I'm late. My main thing is, I want to know what happened at the strategic planning meeting. I mean, be honest now. We have to be honest.
Honest.
Yes.
The meeting was good to have because we needed to bring this out in the open
Okay.
to get something started. Right.
This is our community, and we want it back the way it was or better.
And better.
That's what CWC mission is.
That's it.
The reason why I came over today was to really emphasize how much we need these child care providers.
Okay.
This lot right here off of Belma was totally full of FEMA trailers. And maybe 2.5 months ago, FEMA said, no, get out now. This is Loaves and Fishes, where the homeless people eat on a daily basis. And by 11, they'll start coming around and eating their lunch, and then they'll give them a bag to take with them. You know, it's more so homeless since Katrina because of the lack of affordability and jobs and transportation and all the above. Now, across the street is where we were raised. This was the Kitty Cat restaurant. Now, my goal is for it to get better and have mom and pop's businesses on this street and have historical landmarks on the street. That's the vision. Six or 7 months after Katrina, I knew we had to have something in place for us as a community. I said, we can't wait for another one, guys. We have to do a preparedness, awareness kit. So what we did was file these things down on paper and got hands-on, Gulf Coast, and we have a database of our seniors. So we had to go out and do that outreach, door knocking. And so now they have to have their driver's license, their birth certificate, their insurance paperwork, their insurance on their home, flashlight, food, sheets, water, prepaid phone. All these things should be in this plastic container at your front door. When it's time to go, you don't have any questions. Let me figure out, it should be already at that door. I was reading all the material about climate warming and how it's going to affect us. We're going to have to do our own planning and conserving water. It's going to be another way of living, really. I know that my mission is to do what I do in the community because I know that that's in the script and I'm following the script. When Hurricane Katrina came and took my shop away and took all my livelihood away, it was like God had this already planned for me to do. It wasn't like a choice. CWC, may I help you? Cosmetologist to activist. It's amazing.
There is no debate anymore. The science is telling us that we are on track for a climate disaster.
Looking after our planet is the most important thing and hasn't been done very well in the past.
Me and my generation are the ones who are going to be living through the effects of climate change.
Every step of the way we have a choice as consumers, and women are often holding the purse strings in the family and doing the shopping, so we can get out there and make sure that every single thing we do is going to benefit the planet, not destroy it.
Well, one woman can change the world. That's always been the case.
Any woman wants to do whatever she can to make a future for the children that are coming on.
As individuals, we do have the power to affect change.
1 million women can tell 1 million more, can lead 1 million communities, can cut 1 million tonnes of CO2.
One woman can do a lot when you look at one woman with another 1 million women who stand alongside her.
Every woman is part of a family, whether she's a mother or whether she's an auntie or grandmother, and there's one woman in every family takes the lead to do something about this. The world will change.
The 1 Million Women campaign is about empowering women to take action.
What I knew that Moon could bring to the project was Natalie had the idea and I knew that we could actually make it a reality. As you'll see from the campaign, I think the cleverest thing about the identity was to actually give Natalie an idea that could turn into a campaign itself and really help her bring this whole movement to life.
As women, we need to be more affirmative, more proactive, more dedicated to ensuring that we do.
Because we're nurturers, and I think it's what we do naturally.
As an individual, it's important for me to band together with other people who have a common vision for change.
So while the debate goes on here in Australia and around the world on climate change, what 1 Million Women is all about is just getting on with it.
This brings us to the end of another Focus show. Don't forget to tune in to Focus every second and fourth Wednesday on CBN at 9 p.m., every second and fourth Thursday on JTV at 6 p.m., and every second and fourth Saturday on Channel 52 at 7 p.m. Focus can also be viewed on the DDM's website at www.bviddn.com. So, until next time, remember, it's better to prepare and prevent rather than to repair and repent. My name is Shania Armstrong. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Focus, the show that keeps watch for the Virgin Islands community.